Let's get right into it. We need to talk about the world you see and how it's built for you, often without you even noticing. We're talking about the architecture of your perception. You think you make your own decisions. You believe they come from logic, from your own independent mind. But what if that's not the whole story?
Your opinions, your deepest fears, your loyalties. What if the blueprints for all of it were drawn up by someone else long before you ever started building? Forget about physical chains. That's old school. No, the real control today is completely silent, invisible. All they have to do is control what gets into your head.
Because once that information is filtered for you, once it's repeated over and over, and once it's framed just right, you start to obey. And here's the terrifying part. You do it without feeling controlled. That's the most dangerous kind of influence there is.
So how does this actually work? Well, it's not random. It's a system. And it runs on a few very old, very powerful rules that shape what you accept as real.
We like to think that in a battle of ideas, the truth wins. But in reality, repetition wins. We believe logic is in the driver's seat. But the truth is, emotion overrides it almost every single time. And we assume people push back against force. But what really happens is that people will fight to the death to defend ideas they believe they came up with themselves.
And it all stands on 4 pillars. First, you control the input. You narrow someone's vision until the sliver they see looks like the whole world. Second, you just repeat the message. That's it. Your brain confuses what's familiar with what's true. Third, you fuse that message with an emotion, fear, anger, pride. It's a shortcut straight past the logical part of the brain. And finally, you frame the meaning. You tell the mind how to feel about the facts before it even gets a chance to think about them.
So just take a second here. Think about your strongest beliefs. How many of them did you build after carefully studying all the information? And how many just came from hearing the same fragments again and again and again?
Now, those rules have always existed, but technology has put them on steroids. The modern battlefield for your mind isn't some poster on a wall, it's the screen in your hand.
And on this battlefield, there are 3 main weapons being used against you. First, information overload. Then, social proof. And finally, algorithmic loops. Your attention is the prize.
Let's start with overload. You see all these headlines, all these conflicting stories. It's not meant to inform you, it's designed to exhaust you. Because a tired mind doesn't ask questions. A tired mind gives up. It's a mental surrender. You just start looking for the loudest, simplest voice to follow.
Then you've got social proof. This one's baked into our DNA. We have this deep psychological need to belong, so your brain takes a shortcut. If something is popular, it must be true. Belonging feels safe, resistance feels dangerous, and every like, every share, every comment, it's all weaponized to tell you this is the safe way to think.
And that, of course, leads us to the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't know what's true. It only knows what keeps you watching. It learns what makes you angry, what makes you feel proud, and it just gives you more of that. Soon, your feed feels like reality, but you have to understand, it is not proof, it is a loop.
And that brings up a really uncomfortable question. It's not just about an idea anymore, is it? It's about your tribe. So, what are you really afraid will happen if you stop believing what your group believes? What's the cost of being cast out?
Because this is the end game. This is where it gets really, really sophisticated. The ultimate goal isn't to change your mind about one little thing. It's to program your entire identity.
And there's a simple 4-step playbook for it. Step 1, define the group. People like us. Step 2, assign the belief. We believe this. Step 3, identify the enemy, and we hate them. And step 4, the most important, automate the defense. Defending this belief is the same as defending yourself. And just like that, the control becomes automatic. And this is why it's so powerful. Because once an idea is welded to your identity, facts don't matter anymore. Logic doesn't matter. To reject the message now feels like you are rejecting yourself, and we will do almost anything to avoid that feeling.
Okay, that sounds pretty hopeless. I get it. But this whole system has a critical weakness. It needs you to be unaware. The moment you can see the architecture, you can start taking it apart. So let's talk about how you fight back. Here are 5 acts of mental resistance. First, just slow down. Manipulation needs you to react instantly. Don't. Second, learn to separate the raw facts from the frame they're put in.
Third, notice emotional spikes. That sudden jolt of anger, of fear, that's a red flag. That's your cue to get skeptical. Fourth, break the repetition loops. Go out of your way to find different information. And number 5, probably the most powerful question you can ask. What am I not being shown here?
And while you're doing all that, you have to hold on to one core principle. Write this down. Burn it into your brain. Never, ever confuse familiarity with truth. Hearing something 1,000 times doesn't make it true. It just means somebody wanted you to hear it 1,000 times. So remember, real control today doesn't look like force. It looks like an idea that's been so carefully selected, so perfectly framed and repeated, that it starts to sound like your own voice in your own head. The most powerful manipulation is always the one that makes you think you came to it all on your own. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Seeing the system is the first step. That's the key that unlocks the door. But you're the one who has to turn it. So, now that you can see the frame, can you stop living inside it?